This is England in the early 1300s. King Edward II sits on the throne, though his grip is not as firm as his father's was. But we are not concerned with kings tonight. We are concerned with a single castle standing on a rise of land in the northern counties. It is not the largest castle in the realm, nor the smallest. It houses a baron, his family, and perhaps 200 souls who serve, protect, and maintain this small world of stone. In the next hour or so, we will walk through a single day in this castle. We will wake before dawn with the servants, feel the cold of stone floors beneath our feet, smell the smoke of newly lit fires, and hear the quiet sounds of a fortress coming to life. We will meet the people who lived here, understand their routines, their struggles, their small moments of rest. So find a comfortable position. Let your breathing slow. Allow the modern world to fade away. We are going back to a time when life moved to different rhythms, when the day was marked by bells and the sun's passage across the sky, when your place in the world was fixed and certain. Relax, close your eyes if you wish, and let us begin this gentle journey into the past. It is still dark, completely dark. The kind of darkness that modern people rarely experience, living as we do in a world of electric light. But in this castle, in the year 1324, darkness is absolute. No streetlights shine through windows. No glow from distant cities touches the sky. When the sun sets, the world becomes black, and only candles, rushlights, and carefully tended fires push back against that darkness. The castle is quiet now, or nearly so. Most of its inhabitants are sleeping, but sleep in a medieval castle is not like sleep in a modern home. There are no private bedrooms for most people. The great lord and his lady have a chamber, yes, with an actual bed and some privacy. But for everyone else, sleep is a communal affair. In the great hall, bodies lie wrapped in blankets on the floor, on benches, anywhere there is space. These are the lower servants, the workers, the men-at-arms who are not on guard duty. They sleep in their clothes, or mostly in their clothes, because the night is cold even in summer, and in winter it can be bitterly, bone-achingly cold. The fire in the great hearth has burned down to embers. Someone was supposed to tend it through the night, but perhaps they dozed off. It happens. Up in the towers, the guards on night watch walk their slow circuits. They are wrapped in thick cloaks, and still they are cold. The wind up here never really stops. It comes across the hills, across the fields and forests, and it finds every gap in the stone, every opening in the battlements. These men walk, and they watch, and they fight to stay awake. It is desperately boring work. Nothing happens, night after night. But they must watch anyway, because the one night they do not watch might be the night that someone comes. Raiders, bandits, a rival lord's men. It could happen. It has happened, in living memory. Below, in the depths of the castle, in a small chamber near the kitchens, a woman stirs. Her name is Alice, and she is the head of the kitchen servants. She has been doing this work for 20 years, since she was a girl of 12. She knows, without seeing, without thinking, that it is time to rise. Her body knows. Every morning, for 20 years, she has risen before dawn. In summer, that means rising very early indeed. In winter, she gets a bit more sleep. But winter means harder work in other ways. She sits up on her thin mattress, stuffed with straw that needs replacing. She can feel the stalks poking through the rough cloth. Another task to add to the endless list. She is not alone in this chamber. 3 other women sleep here, the senior kitchen staff. They will wake soon too, but Alice is always first. She takes pride in that. though pride is a sin. The priest reminds them of that every Sunday. But surely it cannot be too wrong to take pride in doing your work well. She stands and her knees complain. She's only 32 years old, but she feels older. Everyone does. Life is hard, and bodies wear out. She wraps her shawl around her shoulders over her woolen dress. She slept in the dress. Everyone does. It is too cold not to, and besides, there is no time in the morning to dress. She needs to move quickly now. She finds her shoes by touch in the darkness. Wooden soles with leather uppers, worn and comfortable. They clack softly on the stone floor as she makes her way to the door. She knows this route so well she could walk it blind, which is fortunate because that is essentially what she is doing. The darkness is complete, but she has her hand on the wall and she counts the steps. 10 steps to the corner. Turn left. 15 more steps. There, the door. The corridor beyond is no lighter. She moves carefully, one hand trailing along the cold stone wall. She is heading for the kitchens, but first she must wake the others. There are 3 young girls who sleep in an even smaller chamber, little more than a closet, near the kitchens. They are the lowest kitchen servants, responsible for the hardest, dirtiest work. They need to be up now. She pushes open their door. It creaks loudly in the silence. Up, she says. Her voice is not unkind, but it is firm. Up now. Time to work. She hears groaning, rustling. Yes, mistress, comes a sleepy voice. That will be Joan, who is 14 and has been here for 2 years. Good girl. Works hard. The other 2, Mary and Bess, are newer. They are still learning. They are slower to wake. Now, Alice says again, and she does not wait to see if they obey. They will. They know what happens if they do not. Not beating, this is not a cruel household, but there are other punishments, less food, harder tasks. Disappointed looks from Alice, which somehow feels worse than anger. Alice continues down the corridor. The stone beneath her feet is uneven, worn smooth by centuries of footsteps in some places, rough and pitted in others. The castle is old. It was built almost 200 years ago by the current lord's great-great-grandfather. It has been added to, repaired, modified. But the bones of it are ancient. She reaches the kitchens. These are large rooms built into the lower levels of the castle. They are separated from the main living areas because of the fire risk. A kitchen fire could destroy a wooden building in minutes, and even in a stone castle, it is dangerous. So the kitchens are kept apart, connected to the great hall by a covered walkway that servants hurry along carrying dishes. The kitchen hearth is enormous, large enough to roast an entire ox if needed. Right now it is cold and dark. Alice's first task is to change that. She moves to where she knows the tinderbox is kept, on a shelf cut into the stone wall. She finds it by touch and carries it to the hearth. There are embers from yesterday, buried in ash. She kneels, her knees protesting again, and carefully uncovers the embers. She blows on them gently. A faint red glow appears. She adds the driest kindling, kept in a basket specifically for this purpose. She blows again and again. The kindling smokes, and then, blessedly, it catches. A tiny flame appears, orange and precious in the absolute darkness. By that small light, she can see a little, enough to add more kindling. The flame grows. She adds small sticks, then larger ones. The fire begins to spread. She adds logs placed ready the night before. Always prepare for the morning the night before. That is one of her rules. The light grows, pushing back the darkness, and warmth begins to radiate from the hearth. By the time Joan, Mary, and Bess stumble into the kitchen, rubbing sleep from their eyes, there is a good fire burning, and Alice is already at work. There are massive pots to be filled with water. There is bread dough that has been rising overnight, covered with damp cloths, that needs to be checked. There are tables to be scrubbed down, floors to be swept, 1,000 tasks before breakfast can even be thought about. Joan, water, Alice commands. Mary, start on the turnips. Bess, sweep this floor. Move now. The girls move. They know the routine. Joan takes up a wooden yoke with buckets hanging from each end. She balances it across her shoulders and heads out into the bailey, the courtyard that lies within the castle walls. There is a well there, deep and cold. She will make many trips this morning. A castle uses an enormous amount of water, for cooking, for cleaning, for drinking, for the Lord's bath if he wants one, which is rare, but does happen. Outside, the bailey is still dark, but there is the faintest hint of grey in the eastern sky. Dawn is coming, but it is still perhaps an hour away. Joan can see a little, though, because torches burn in brackets on the walls, and the guard towers have braziers. The guards need to see, after all. The flickering firelight casts dancing shadows across the cobblestones. The well is in the center of the bailey. Joan sets down her yoke and buckets and begins to work the windlass. It creaks loudly, and the bucket descends into the darkness below. She hears the splash as it hits the water, waits for it to fill, then begins the laborious process of winding it back up. The handle is worn smooth by countless hands. The rope is thick and rough. Her hands are already rough from work, calloused and strong. She is only 14, but she has the hands of a woman twice her age. She fills both buckets, lifts the yoke onto her shoulders, and begins the careful walk back to the kitchen. The buckets are heavy, slopping water with each step. By the time she reaches the kitchen, she will have spilled perhaps a fifth of what she drew. This is normal. Everyone spills. The trick is not to spill too much. Back in the kitchen, Mary is working on turnips. There is a mountain of them in a basket. They need to be peeled, chopped, and added to the enormous pot that is already hanging over the fire. This will be pottage, the thick stew that is the staple food for everyone in the castle except the Lord and his family. It will cook all day, and people will eat from it all day. Turnips, onions, beans, herbs, sometimes a little meat if there is any to spare, all boiled together into a thick, nutritious mass. It is not exciting food, but it is filling and it keeps people working. Bess is sweeping, pushing rushes and debris toward the door. The floor will be swept multiple times today. With so many people coming and going, with food being prepared and spilled, with dogs wandering in hoping for scraps, the floor gets dirty fast. The rushes that cover it help absorb some of the mess, but they need to be changed regularly. That is a task for later in the day. Alice herself is working on the bread. This is skilled work, and she does not trust it to the younger girls yet. She turns the dough out onto a floured board and begins to knead it. The rhythm of kneading is soothing, almost meditative. Push, fold, turn. Push, fold, turn. The dough is smooth and elastic under her hands. This batch will make perhaps 20 loaves, enough for the morning, but more will be needed for later. Bread is eaten at every meal. For many people, it is the meal, served with a bit of cheese or some pottage. While Alice kneads, she is planning the day in her head. Breakfast for the Lord and Lady will be relatively simple. Some bread, cold meat left from yesterday's dinner, perhaps some cheese, ale to drink. They do not eat a large breakfast usually, but there will be guests today, she remembers. The lord of a neighboring manor is coming to discuss some business. That means a better dinner. She will need to prepare something special, a roasted chicken, perhaps two. They have chickens in the courtyard. Someone will need to kill and pluck them. Vegetables, of course. A pie of some sort, if there is time. Honey cakes for after. The Lord likes honey cakes. Her mind spins through the inventory. Do they have enough honey? Yes, the last tribute from the beekeepers was generous. Flour, yes, plenty. Butter, yes. Eggs, yes. Spices. The spices are kept locked in a small chest in the pantry. She has the key hanging from her belt along with several others. Spices are valuable, traded from far away, and they must be carefully controlled. She will need cinnamon and perhaps some ginger for the honey cakes. Just a little. A very little. The Lord is not so wealthy that they can be careless with spices. As she thinks, her hands continue their work. The bread is shaped into loaves and placed on a wooden board to rise again. This second rising is shorter. While they rise, she will prepare the oven. The castle has a large brick oven built into the wall of the kitchen. It takes time to heat properly. She needs to get a fire going in there now. Joan has brought in more water. She is panting from the effort, her face flushed. More, mistress? She asks. Yes, keep going. We will need at least 10 more trips, Alice tells her. Joan's face falls a little, but she nods and picks up her yoke again. Out she goes, into the bailey, where the sky is definitely lighter now. Gray instead of black. Dawn is getting closer. In other parts of the castle, more people are beginning to stir. In the great hall, a few of the sleepers are waking. They do so reluctantly. It is cold, and their blankets, thin as they are, provide some warmth. But duty calls. There is work to be done. A young man named Thomas sits up. He is a servant to the Lord, one of several. His job is to attend to the Lord's personal needs, help him dress, serve his meals, run errands, whatever is required. He is 18 years old, and he has been in service here for 3 years. Before that, he was in service in his father's house, learning the skills of a servant. His father was also a servant, and his father before him. This is what his family does. Thomas folds his blanket neatly. Even in the pre-dawn darkness, he is careful to do things properly. A servant must be neat, orderly, careful. These are the virtues that are praised. He's wearing a woolen tunic and breeches, both in a dull brown color. The Lord's servants wear a livery, a badge on their sleeves that marks them as belonging to this household. Thomas is proud of his badge. It means he has a place. He belongs. He makes his way across the hall, stepping carefully around other sleepers. Some are starting to wake. Others are still deeply asleep. Let them rest a little longer. They will be up soon enough. The day gives no mercy to those who want more sleep. Thomas heads toward the garderobe, the toilet. It is built into the thickness of the castle wall, a small chamber with a wooden seat with a hole in it. Below, a shaft goes straight down to a pit at the base of the castle wall. It is not pleasant, but it serves its purpose. He relieves himself quickly, the cold air making him hurry, and then makes his way back through the hall. He should check if the Lord is awake yet. Probably not. The Lord usually sleeps later than the servants. Why would he not? He has no fire to light, no breakfast to prepare. But Thomas should be ready, just in case. He climbs the narrow spiral staircase that leads to the upper floors. These stairs are worn smooth in the center from generations of feet. They turn always to the right as you climb, which is a defensive feature. An attacker coming up the stairs is at a disadvantage, his sword arm constrained by the central column. The defenders fighting downward have more room to swing. Not that anyone is attacking today. Thomas is just climbing stairs on a quiet morning. His breath comes a little harder. It is a lot of stairs. The Lord's chamber is at the top of the keep, the tallest and most secure part of the castle. At the door he pauses. He listens. No sound from within. The Lord is still sleeping. Good. Thomas can go prepare things. He descends again and makes his way to the Lord's private chamber on the second floor. This is where the Lord spends his days when he is not in the great hall. It is a good-sized room with a fireplace, a luxury that only the most important rooms have. The fire is out now. Thomas needs to light it. He finds the materials ready. Kindling, logs, a steel and flint. He has done this hundreds of times. Strike the steel against the flint over a bit of charred cloth. A spark catches. Blow on it gently. Add the finest kindling. Coax the flame into existence. Feed it slowly. Let it grow. Add the logs. The warmth begins to spread. While the fire takes hold, Thomas looks around the room. The floor needs sweeping. There is dust on the table. He finds a broom and a cloth and sets to work. A servant's work is never finished. There is always something to clean, something to tidy, something to prepare. But Thomas does not mind. This is his life. He has never known anything else. He is good at his work. The Lord seems satisfied with him. That is all he can ask for. Down in the bailey, the sky is definitely lighter now. You can see the shapes of buildings clearly, the outlines of the walls against the sky. The guards on the walls can see the landscape beyond, the fields and forests rolling away into the distance. Dawn is perhaps 15 minutes away. The night watch will end soon. The day watch will take over. The cycle continues, unchanging, day after day. In the barracks, a long, low building built against the inside of the castle wall, the soldiers are waking. There are perhaps 30 of them, men-at-arms in the Lord's service. Some are professional soldiers, men who have made war their trade. Others are from the estate, younger sons of freemen who owe military service to the Lord. They sleep on wooden bunks, 2 tiers high, with thin straw mattresses. It is not comfortable, but it is better than the floor. A sergeant named Robert moves along the bunks, calling out, "Up! Up now! Day watch in 10 minutes!" His voice is loud, practiced. He has been doing this for years. He is in his 40s, an old man by military standards, but still strong, still capable. He has fought in Scotland, has seen real battle. Most of these young men have not. They train, they drill, they stand guard, but they have never faced an enemy shield wall, never heard the scream of wounded men and horses. Robert has. It has left marks on him, both visible and not. The men grumble, but they rise. They know better than to make Robert ask twice. They pull on their padded tunics, the gambeson that goes under armor. Most will not wear full armor today, not unless there is a specific threat. Armor is hot, heavy, tiring. For daily guard duty, the gambeson is enough, with perhaps a helmet and their weapons. Swords for some, spears for others. A few have crossbows, deadly weapons that require less training than the longbow. They file out of the barracks into the bailey. The grey light makes everything look washed out, colorless. They form up in rough ranks. Robert inspects them quickly. He is looking for signs of drunkenness, of sloppiness. These are not always the most disciplined men, but they are what he has to work with. They are not bad. They could be better. They could always be better. "Day watch to the walls," he commands. "Smith, you take the north tower. William, the gatehouse. The rest of you, spread out along the walls. You know your positions. Move." They move, dispersing to their assigned locations. The night watch comes down, tired, cold, glad to be relieved. There is a brief exchange at each position. "Anything to report?" "No, Sergeant, all quiet." "Right. Get to the hall and warm up." The routine is familiar, comforting in its way. Every day is the same duties, the same rhythms. For soldiers, that is good. Routine means no crisis, no threat. Boring is safe. They have learned to appreciate boring. In the east, over the hills, the sun begins to rise. First just a brightening, then a sliver of gold. The sky turns from gray to pink to gold to blue. Light spreads across the landscape. You can see the fields now, divided into strips, where peasants from the village will be working today. You can see the forest beyond, dark and mysterious. You can see the road that leads to the castle, winding through the landscape like a ribbon. the castle begins to truly wake. In the great hall, the last sleepers are rising. Blankets are being folded and stacked. The hall needs to be cleared because people will be eating here soon. Trestle tables need to be set up, benches arranged. The hall is the center of castle life. Everything happens here. Meals, meetings, entertainment, judgment, worship. It must be ready. A steward named Geoffrey oversees this work. He is an older man, dignified, with gray in his beard. He has been the steward here for 20 years. He manages the household, keeps the accounts, ensures everything runs smoothly. He is holding a small slate on which he makes notes with a piece of chalk. So many things to remember. The Lord's guest arriving today must ensure the guest chamber is prepared. Fresh rushes on the floor, the bed aired, water for washing, wine for drinking. All must be perfect. The honor of the household depends on proper hospitality. Geoffrey walks through the hall, observing, directing. You there? Those benches need to be properly aligned. Yes, that's better. The table is not level. Get a stone under that leg. Good. His voice is calm, authoritative. People listen to Geoffrey. He knows what he's doing. In the chapel, the priest is preparing for morning prayers. The chapel is a small stone room off the great hall. It has an altar, a cross, a few candles. It is simple, but it is sacred space. The priest, Father Martin, is lighting the candles now. He is a young man, only recently ordained. He is still learning how to serve this community. The previous priest was old, wise, comfortable. Father Martin is earnest, perhaps too earnest. He wants everyone to be more devout. He preaches long sermons about sin and salvation. The congregation tries to be polite, but sometimes they wish he would be briefer. Still, he means well, and he performs the sacraments properly. That is what matters. Morning prayers will be soon. Not everyone attends. Most of the servants are too busy with their work, but some come. The Lord and Lady usually attend, and some of the household. It is expected. Father Martin finishes lighting the candles and kneels before the altar. He begins his private prayers, his lips moving silently. The chapel is quiet, peaceful. The morning light is coming through the small window, falling on the altar in a golden beam. It is a beautiful moment, though Father Martin is too focused on his prayers to notice. Back in the kitchen, Alice has the bread in the oven. It is baking, filling the kitchen with the most wonderful smell. Fresh bread baking is one of the great smells of life. It makes everyone hungry. The pottage is bubbling in its pot. Mary is still adding vegetables. Joan has finally finished bringing water. She is exhausted, but she cannot rest. There is too much to do. Joan, start breaking eggs, Alice commands. We will need them for the honey cakes later. Bess, go to the dairy and get butter and cheese. Tell Marjorie we need fresh milk as well. Go on. The girls scatter to their tasks. Alice herself is now working on the Lord's breakfast. Cold meat, sliced thin. Bread, when it comes out of the oven. Cheese, a good firm cheese from their own dairy. Ale, poured into a jug. She arranges everything on a wooden platter. It must look appealing. The Lord is not usually particular, but still standards must be maintained. A boy appears at the kitchen door. He is perhaps 10 years old, one of the pages. "Is the Lord's breakfast ready?" he asks nervously. "Nearly," Alice tells him. "Wait." The bread comes out of the oven. Alice tests it, tapping the bottom. It sounds hollow. Perfect. She selects the best loaf and slices it. Still warm. The Lord will appreciate that. She adds the slices to the platter. "Here," she says, handing the platter to the page. "Carefully now. Do not spill the ale." "Yes, mistress," the boy says. He takes the platter carefully, concentrating hard. He is small for his age, and the platter is almost as big as he is, but he manages. He carries it slowly across the bailey, up the stairs, to where the Lord is waiting. The castle is fully awake now. The sun is above the horizon. People are everywhere, moving, working, talking. The day has begun, and it will continue through all its small routines and large events until evening comes and darkness falls again, and the whole cycle begins once more. This is life in a medieval castle. Routine, repetitive, but also strangely comforting. Everyone knows their place. Everyone knows their duties. There is a structure, an order. In a world that can be chaotic and dangerous, that order is valuable. It gives meaning, it gives purpose, and so the day unfolds, as days have unfolded here for generations, and will unfold for generations more. The castle stands, the people work. Life continues. The young page, whose name is Edmund, carefully climbs the spiral staircase to the Lord's chamber. His arms are already tired from holding the heavy platter, and he still has 2 flights to go. He pauses at the first landing to adjust his grip. The ale sloshes slightly in the jug, but does not spill. Good. He has spilled before, and the memory of the scolding still makes him wince. He's learning, though. He's getting better at this work. Edmund has been a page here for 6 months. His father is a freeman who holds land from the Lord, and sending Edmund to serve in the castle is both an honor and a practical arrangement. Here, Edmund will learn manners, learn how a noble household operates, learn to read and write perhaps, if Father Martin has time to teach him. When he is older, if he does well, he might become a squire. That is his hope, to serve a knight, to learn the arts of war and chivalry. Perhaps, if fortune smiles, to become a knight himself one day. It is not impossible. Unlikely, yes, but not impossible. He reaches the Lord's chamber door and shifts the platter to one hand so he can knock. 3 polite taps. He waits. From inside, a voice calls, "Enter!" Edmund pushes the door open with a shoulder and steps inside. The room is warming nicely from the fire that Thomas lit earlier. The Lord is sitting in a large wooden chair, already dressed. He is a man in his early 40s, with dark hair going gray at the temples and a neatly trimmed beard. His name is Sir William de Ashford, and he has held this castle and its lands for 15 years, since his father died. He is not a cruel lord, not particularly kind either. He is practical, efficient, concerned with managing his estates well. His people could do worse. "Good morning, my lord," Edmund says, keeping his eyes lowered respectfully. "Morning, Edmund. Put it there." Sir William gestures to a small table near the window. Edmund carefully sets down the platter and the jug. He does not spill a drop. He feels a small surge of pride. "Will there be anything else, my lord?" "No. Tell the steward I will be down shortly. There is business to attend to before our guest arrives." "Yes, my lord." Edmund bows and backs toward the door. You do not turn your back on the Lord. That would be disrespectful. He has learned these rules. They are important. Outside the chamber, he lets out a breath he did not know he was holding. Every interaction with the Lord makes him nervous, even though Sir William has never been harsh with him. It is just the weight of rank, the awareness that this man holds power over everyone in the castle, including Edmund's own family. One word from the Lord, and Edmund could be sent home in disgrace, so he is careful, very careful. He hurries back down the stairs to find Geoffrey the steward. There is always something more to do. A page's work is never finished. He must be available at all times, ready to run messages, fetch things, assist wherever needed. It is exhausting, but it is also exciting. So much is happening all the time, so many people to observe and learn from. Meanwhile, in another part of the castle, the lady is waking. Lady Catherine de Ashford lies in the great bed she shares with her husband. He has already risen and gone to his private chamber to dress and break his fast. She could rise now too, but she allows herself a few more minutes of rest. The bed is comfortable, stuffed with feathers rather than straw. It has curtains that can be drawn around it for warmth and privacy. This is luxury that very few people in the castle experience. Lady Catherine is 38 years old. She has been married to Sir William for 20 years. They wed when she was 18 and he was 22, an arrangement between their families. She brought a good dowry. He brought lands and a title. It has been, if not a love match, at least a functional one. They have had 5 children, though only 3 survive. 2 boys and a girl. The boys are away, fostered in other households as is customary for noble children. They are learning what they need to know to take their place in the world. The daughter, Eleanor, is still here. She is 12, and her marriage is being negotiated. Soon she too will leave. Lady Catherine sighs and pushes back the heavy blankets. The chamber is cold despite the fire that burns in the hearth. Stone walls hold the cold like they hold everything else. She reaches for the bell that sits on the small table beside the bed. She rings it once. The sound is clear and bright in the morning air. Within moments, her lady's maid appears. This is Agnes, a woman of about 30 who has served Lady Catherine for 10 years. She is efficient, discreet, loyal. These are the qualities a lady requires in her personal servant. "Good morning, my lady," Agnes says with a small curtsy. "Good morning, Agnes. Help me dress, please. The blue gown, I think. We have a guest coming today." "Yes, my lady. I will fetch water for washing." Agnes disappears and returns shortly with a basin of water and a cloth. The water is warm. Someone has heated it in the kitchen and brought it up. That someone is probably one of the young girls, Bess or Mary, carrying a heavy pot up all those stairs. Lady Catherine does not think about this. She has never had to carry her own water. It simply appears when she needs it, as if by magic. She washes her face and hands. Agnes helps her out of her night shift and into the layers of clothing that a lady wears. First the linen undershift, then the gown, which is made of good wool dyed a deep blue. It has long sleeves and a fitted bodice that laces up the sides. Agnes laces it deftly. Then the surcoat, a sleeveless overdress that shows the gown beneath. Then the belt, from which hang various small pouches and her keys. A lady of the household carries keys. They are symbols of her authority, her responsibility for the management of domestic matters. Agnes then tends to Lady Catherine's hair. It is long brown with threads of grey starting to show. Agnes combs it carefully, then braids it and pins it up. Over this goes a linen veil, held in place with a simple circlet. Lady Catherine looks at herself in the small mirror, polished metal that gives a dim reflection. She looks like what she is, a lady of modest but respectable standing, not wealthy enough for silk and jewels, but certainly not poor, comfortable, established. "Will you break your fast in your chamber, my lady, or in the hall?" Agnes asks. "The hall, I think. I should be visible, and I want to check on the preparations for our guest." "Very good, my lady." They descend together to the great hall. The transformation from the sleeping room of an hour ago is remarkable. The trestle tables are set up and benches arranged. The floor has been swept. Fresh rushes have been laid, mixed with herbs that release a pleasant smell when walked upon. Servants are moving around, setting out bread, cheese, ale. The household is gathering for the morning meal. Not everyone eats together. The lord and lady will eat at the high table, which sits on a raised platform at one end of the hall. With them will sit any guests, important household members, perhaps the steward and the priest. Everyone else will eat at the lower tables. There is a strict hierarchy even in eating. Your place at table reflects your place in the world. Lady Catherine takes her seat at the high table. A servant immediately brings her bread and ale. She eats delicately without hurry. A lady must always be composed, dignified. She watches the hall as she eats. She observes who is here, who is working efficiently, who is slacking. She may not be directly in charge of the servants, that is Geoffrey's role, but she certainly has opinions, and her opinions carry weight. The hall is filling now. Servants are sitting down to eat, grateful for a few minutes of rest and hot food. They tear into the bread, dip it in the pottage that is being served from the kitchen. They drink ale in great gulps. They are hungry. They have already been working for hours. Thomas the servant sits with several other personal servants. They are a slightly separate group, ranking just above the regular household servants, but below the steward and other senior staff. They talk quietly among themselves. The conversation is the usual mix of gossip, complaints about work, observations about the weather. It has been dry lately. The crops might suffer if rain does not come soon. This concerns everyone. The castle depends on the harvest. Everyone depends on the harvest. At another table, the soldiers who are not on duty are eating. They eat with enthusiasm, talking loudly, laughing. Soldiers are like that. Loud, boisterous. It is their way. They work hard and they play hard. Robert the sergeant sits at the head of their table. He is quieter than the others, eating steadily, listening to their talk. He hears everything. He knows which of his men are content and which are restless, which are reliable and which need watching. This is his job, to know his men. A young soldier named Peter is talking about the upcoming harvest festival. There will be dancing, he says enthusiastically, and ale, plenty of ale. The Lord always provides ale for the festival. And girls, adds another soldier grinning. The village girls come to the castle for the festival. "You keep your hands to yourself," Robert says without looking up from his food. "The Lord will not tolerate any trouble with the village girls. They are under his protection." Yes, Sergeant, Peter says, his enthusiasm dimming only slightly. He is young, only 19, and he has not yet learned that most of life is discipline and duty, with only occasional moments of pleasure. He will learn. They all do. In the chapel, Father Martin is preparing for morning prayers. A few people have gathered. Lady Catherine will come shortly. Sir William will probably not come this morning. He has business, but he is pious enough to attend most days. Some of the household servants have come, those who have a few minutes between tasks. They kneel on the cold stone floor, hands folded, heads bowed. Father Martin begins the familiar words of the morning office. Latin phrases that have been spoken every morning for centuries, that will be spoken every morning for centuries to come. Most of the people here do not understand Latin. They know the responses, they know when to say Amen, but the meaning of the words is lost to them. Still, there is comfort in the ritual. The same prayers, every day, connecting them to something larger than themselves. Lady Catherine arrives and takes her place at the front. She kneels gracefully, her hands folded perfectly. She has been attending these prayers since she was a child. She knows every word, though she too does not fully understand the Latin. But she understands the purpose. Prayer is duty. It is what a Christian soul must do. And she is, if nothing else, dutiful. The prayers take perhaps 15 minutes. Then Father Martin blesses them all, and they rise and disperse. Lady Catherine pauses to speak to the priest. Father, our guest today is Sir Robert de Clermont. He will wish to attend Vespers this evening, I am sure. Of course, my lady. All will be prepared. Thank you, Father. She leaves the chapel and goes to find Geoffrey. There are many details to discuss. The guest chamber, the evening meal, entertainment after dinner. All must be perfect. She finds Geoffrey in the small room he uses as an office. It is hardly more than a closet, but it has a table, a stool, and shelves where he keeps his records. Geoffrey is making notes on a piece of parchment. Parchment is expensive, so he uses it carefully, squeezing as much writing as possible onto each sheet. He looks up as Lady Catherine enters. My lady. He rises and bows. Geoffrey, the guest chamber. Has it been prepared? Yes, my lady. Fresh rushes, clean linens, a fire laid ready to light, water and towels for washing, a cup of wine in case he wishes to refresh himself when he arrives. Good. And dinner. Alice is preparing roasted chickens, pottage, a pie, vegetables, fresh bread, and honey cakes. We have good wine, not the best, but good. I thought we might serve it with dinner rather than just ale. Yes, wine is appropriate. Sir Robert is a man of some importance. We must show proper respect. Indeed, my lady. They discuss a few more details. What time the guest is expected, who will greet him, where his horse will be stabled, where his servants will sleep. There are always servants. A man of Sir Robert's rank would not travel without at least 2 or 3 attendants. They must be accommodated as well. Lady Catherine is satisfied that everything is in hand. Geoffrey is reliable. She does not need to worry when he is managing things. She leaves him to his work and goes to find her daughter, Eleanor. Eleanor is in the small room she shares with her nurse. She's supposed to be working on her embroidery, a crucial skill for a lady. But when Lady Catherine enters, she finds Eleanor staring out the window, her needlework lying forgotten in her lap. Eleanor! The girl jumps and picks up her work. Yes, mother, I was just thinking. Thinking is well and good, but you must also work. Let me see your progress. Eleanor holds up the cloth. She has been embroidering a border of flowers. It is passable work, not exceptional. The stitches are a bit uneven in places. Lady Catherine sighs internally. Eleanor is not naturally gifted at needlework, but she must learn. It is expected. It needs improvement, Lady Catherine says, but not unkindly. The stitches should be more regular. See here and here. Take them out and do them again. Yes, mother, Eleanor says dutifully, though her expression shows her lack of enthusiasm. Lady Catherine sits down beside her daughter. For a moment, they work in companionable silence. The light from the window falls across their hands, illuminating the bright threads. Mother, Eleanor says after a while, is it true that I am to be married? Lady Catherine keeps her face calm. Where did you hear that? I heard you and father talking, and Agnes said something to one of the other maids. So the servants are gossiping. Of course they are. Nothing stays secret in a castle. You keep your hands to yourself, Robert says without looking up from his food. The Lord will not tolerate any trouble with the village girls. They are under his protection. Yes, Sergeant, Peter says, his enthusiasm dimming only slightly. He is young, only 19, and he has not yet learned that most of life is discipline and duty, with only occasional moments of pleasure. He will learn. They all do. In the chapel, Father Martin is preparing for morning prayers. A few people have gathered. Lady Catherine will come shortly. Sir William will probably not come this morning. He has business, but he is pious enough to attend most days. Some of the household servants have come, those who have a few minutes between tasks. They kneel on the cold stone floor, hands folded, heads bowed. Father Martin begins the familiar words of the morning office, Latin phrases that have been spoken every morning for centuries, that will be spoken every morning for centuries to come. Most of the people here do not understand Latin. They know the responses, they know when to say Amen, but the meaning of the words is lost to them. Still, there is comfort in the ritual. The same prayers, every day, connecting them to something larger than themselves. Lady Catherine arrives and takes her place at the front. She kneels gracefully, her hands folded perfectly. She has been attending these prayers since she was a child. She knows every word, though she too does not fully understand the Latin. But she understands the purpose. Prayer is duty. It is what a Christian soul must do, and she is, if nothing else, dutiful. The prayers take perhaps 15 minutes. Then Father Martin blesses them all, and they rise and disperse. Lady Catherine pauses to speak to the priest. Father, our guest today is Sir Robert de Clermont. He will wish to attend Vespers this evening, I am sure. Of course, my lady. All will be prepared. Thank you, Father. She leaves the chapel and goes to find Geoffrey. There are many details to discuss. The guest chamber, the evening meal, entertainment after dinner. All must be perfect. She finds Geoffrey in the small room he uses as an office. It is hardly more than a closet, but it has a table, a stool, and shelves where he keeps his records. Geoffrey is making notes on a piece of parchment. Parchment is expensive, so he uses it carefully, squeezing as much writing as possible onto each sheet. He looks up as Lady Catherine enters. My lady, He rises and bows. Geoffrey, the guest chamber. Has it been prepared? Yes, my lady. Fresh rushes, clean linens, a fire laid ready to light, water and towels for washing, a cup of wine in case he wishes to refresh himself when he arrives. Good. And dinner? Alice is preparing roasted chickens, pottage, a pie, vegetables, fresh bread, and honey cakes. We have good wine, not the best, but good. I thought we might serve it with dinner rather than just ale. Yes, wine is appropriate. Sir Robert is a man of some importance. We must show proper respect. Indeed, my lady. They discuss a few more details. What time the guest is expected, who will greet him, where his horse will be stabled, where his servants will sleep. There are always servants. A man of Sir Robert's rank would not travel without at least 2 or 3 attendants. They must be accommodated as well. Lady Catherine is satisfied that everything is in hand. Geoffrey is reliable. She does not need to worry when he is managing things. She leaves him to his work and goes to find her daughter Eleanor. Eleanor is in the small room she shares with her nurse. She's supposed to be working on her embroidery, a crucial skill for a lady. But when Lady Catherine enters, she finds Eleanor staring out the window, her needlework lying forgotten in her lap. Eleanor! The girl jumps and picks up her work. Yes, mother. I was just thinking. Thinking is well and good, but you must also work. Let me see your progress. Eleanor holds up the cloth. She has been embroidering a border of flowers. It is passable work, not exceptional. The stitches are a bit uneven in places. Lady Catherine sighs internally. Eleanor is not naturally gifted at needlework, but she must learn. It is expected. It needs improvement, Lady Catherine says, but not unkindly. The stitches should be more regular. See here and here. Take them out and do them again. Yes, mother, Eleanor says dutifully, though her expression shows her lack of enthusiasm. Lady Catherine sits down beside her daughter. For a moment, they work in companionable silence. The light from the window falls across their hands, illuminating the bright threads. Mother, Eleanor says after a while, is it true that I am to be married? Lady Catherine keeps her face calm. Where did you hear that? I heard you and father talking, and Agnes said something to one of the other maids. So the servants are gossiping. Of course they are. Nothing stays secret in a castle. But still, procedures must be followed. Go ahead, one guard says, waving the cart through. The woodcutter drives the cart to the woodshed and begins unloading. His son helps. They work in silence, the comfortable silence of people who have worked together for a long time. Stack the wood neatly. Keep it off the ground so it stays dry. Dried wood burns better than wet. Sir William emerges from the keep and stands for a moment, looking around his domain. He sees the activity, the people all busy at their tasks. This pleases him. An idle castle is a castle sliding toward ruin. Work is virtue. Work is prosperity. He nods to himself and walks across the bailey toward the stables. The stables are along the western wall, a long building that houses perhaps 20 horses. These are valuable animals. The Lord's destrier, his war horse, is here. Several palfreys for riding, draft horses for pulling carts. Each one represents a significant investment. They must be well cared for. The head groom is named Walter, and he takes his responsibilities seriously. He is checking each horse this morning, looking at their eyes, their coats, their hooves. A horse can fall ill quickly, and an ill horse is a disaster. He runs his hands over the destrier's legs, feeling for heat or swelling. Nothing. Good. The horse is in excellent condition. Good morning, Walter, Sir William says as he enters the stable. Good morning, my lord. Walter bows slightly. Come to check on Goliath. Goliath is the destrier, a massive grey horse standing over 16 hands high. He is trained for war, bred for it, and he costs Sir William more than most people will earn in their entire lives. But he is worth it. A knight without a proper war horse is not really a knight. Sir William walks up to the horse and pats his neck. Goliath nuzzles him gently. Despite his size and training, he is gentle with those he knows. He looks well. He is well, my lord. Eating properly. No lameness, good spirit. I exercised him yesterday. He needs regular exercise or he gets restless. Good. Our guest will be arriving this afternoon. Have a good horse ready for him to ride tomorrow if he wishes. Perhaps midnight. Midnight is one of the palfreys, a smooth-riding black gelding. It will be done, my lord. Sir William leaves the stable satisfied. His castle is running smoothly. His people are working. His guest will be properly received. This is what a lord should do. Manage well, maintain order, fulfill his obligations to those above him and those below him in the great chain of being. He walks back toward the keep, planning his day. He needs to review some accounts with Geoffrey. There are rents to be collected from his tenants. There is a dispute between two freemen that needs adjudicating. There is always something. The work of a lord is never done. As the morning progresses toward midday, the castle continues its rhythms. In the kitchen, preparations for the important evening meal are accelerating. Alice has killed and plucked the chickens herself. She does not trust this task to the younger girls. Chickens must be properly prepared or the meat will be tough. She has them spitted and ready to roast. The pie is assembled, filled with preserved fruit and spices. The honey cakes are mixed and ready to bake. The morning meal in the hall has finished. The tables are being cleared, the benches stacked. Some people return to work immediately. Others take a brief rest. A few of the soldiers not on duty have gathered in a corner of the bailey. They are practicing with their weapons, keeping their skills sharp. The clack of wooden practice swords rings out. They spar carefully. The goal is to practice, not to injure. Up on the walls, the guards continue their endless patrol. They walk, they watch, they see nothing unusual. The road is empty. The fields are peaceful. Peasants are working, bent over their crops. In the distance, sheep graze on the hillside. It is a scene of pastoral calm, but the guards remain alert. They have heard stories of Scottish raiders coming south, stories of bandits in the forests, stories of lords going to war with each other over some dispute. The world can turn violent without warning, so they watch. They are the eyes of the castle, the first line of defense. The morning wears on, the sun climbs higher, the day grows warmer. Life in the castle continues, each person playing their part in the complex dance of medieval life. Good night, thanks for being with us.